you doing? Thanks so much for being here. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's video, we're going to do a little bit of a beginner lesson for you. I'm going to talk about the 5 chords that you should learn right off the bat when you're just starting out playing guitar, because these are very, very common in a lot of songs, okay? So, if you're just starting out guitar, looking to learn some chords, here's my top 5 that I would recommend you learning. Let's check it out.
Audio Jungle.
Now, if you've been around guitar at all, you've probably heard the word caged before. Caged, C-A-G-E-D. And it's because of these chords. The C chord, the A, the G, the E, and the D. And these are the 5 chords that we're going to take a look at today. So the first chord we're going to learn is the C. The C major is going to be right here. It's going to incorporate our 3rd, 2nd, and index finger. Okay? And it's going to be right here. The 3rd finger is going to be on the 5th string, 3rd fret. 2nd finger or middle finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and our index finger is going to be on the second string of the 1st fret. And this is going to be our C major. This is a very popular chord in a lot of songs, so I would highly recommend that you learn it and learn it well. It's the first chord, C major. The second chord we're going to learn is A major, which is going to be, all the notes are going to be on the 2nd fret on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Now you can play this format with either these 3 fingers right here, your 2nd ring and pinky, or middle ring and pinky, or 2nd, 3rd, 4th, however you want to do it, doesn't matter, however you want to call it, or you could play it with your index, 2nd and 3rd. Now if you have kind of, you know, big hands, big fingers, this chord's a little tricky because it's hard to get all your fingers in there. So if that's the case, I would recommend you were doing it with these 3. Now I would recommend working with both. Doing it with your index, middle, and ring, as well as forming it with your middle, ring, and pinky. And if you want to push it one step further, you could bar it like this, okay? Just put your 2nd finger on it and do it like that, okay? That's 3 different ways that you can play the A chord. I would highly recommend that you work on all 3 of them because they're going to come in handy in a lot of different songs. Some songs you're going to be switching from a chord, and that, you know, doing it like this is going to work really well. Or you're going to switch from a chord and playing it with these 3 fingers is going to do really well. Or you're going to switch from a chord and these 3 fingers are going to do really well. So I would highly recommend learning all 3 for the A major chord. That's our A major. The next one, which is going to be probably the hardest one you learn, and so if you get this one down, everything else should be easy. This is the G major chord. This one's a little tricky just because of the fact that it spans across all 6 strings. Now this one has a couple different ways you can play it as well. So I'm going to show you the most common way. The most common way is like this, with our ring finger on top, 3rd fret, our middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and the 4th finger, pinky, on the 1st string of the 3rd fret. Okay, and it's a little bit tricky to get these 2 fingers to do this because these 2 fingers always kind of want to work together. So you're trying to separate them like this, and they get that's a little tricky. So what you can do is a different version, but let me just show you this real quick. That's our G major right there. That's probably the most common way of playing it. Now what's difficult is getting these 2 fingers to separate from each other. So what you could do to do it a little bit easier is keep these 2 fingers together, put them on the 2nd and 1st string of the 3rd fret, and then take your middle finger and put that up on the 6th string, 3rd fret. So now you have this, and then take your index finger, put it on the 5th string, 2nd fret. This is what I like to call like a 4-finger G or an alternate G, and this is really, really helpful because it keeps these 2 fingers together and it gives you a little bit of a fuller sound. So that's something that you might want to think about. If you're having trouble doing it the other way, I would recommend trying it this way. Now I recommend doing it both ways, just like what we did with the A chord, and I'll tell you why. Because this way works really well with the C9 chord, which is you just take these 2 fingers, bring them down a string, keep them on the same fret. These ones stay right where they're at. Boom, you have your C9 chord. G major, C9, G major, C9, G major. Now the C9, I wasn't really planning on showing you that one. That's a little bit different. So that's, I guess, 6 chords, okay? But this G goes really well with the C9, and then you can come down here to the D, which is the next one we're going to work on. But G, C9. See how easy those two chords are? You know, you just got to be able to move these two fingers up and down like this and keep these two where they're at. I would highly recommend learning both ways, because if you play G like this with your ring finger on top and your pinky on the bottom, that's a little bit trickier to do, especially in the very beginning when you're just starting. Okay, but if you could get this down, it's going to be a lot easier to go to that C major chord, the one that I just showed you a little while ago. See how the C major is right here? That's what we learned. And then we take these two fingers and just bring them up like this. Take this one off, bring the pinky down. Boom, there's our G major. So G major, C major, G major, C major. And the thing with these two chords is the G major and the C major go together in a lot of songs. If a song has a G major in it, it more likely has a C major. If it has a C major, it more likely has a G major, because those two chords go really well together. So you want to make sure that you can form these two chords and transition between them. C, so if you're playing a C major, to go to G major, you just bring these two fingers up, take that one off a little bit, boom, bring down your pinky, there's your G major. I call that like a 3-finger G major, because you're using 3 fingers. But if the song incorporates the C9 chord, then I would play your G with these fingers, like this, with your middle finger on the top, and these two fingers down here together, so that you could just bring these two down and play your C9 chord. So G, C9. So both ways are going to work really well for you. So I would highly recommend learn both ways, okay? So now we got the C, the A, the G. Now we come to the E major right here. So we're going to take our 2 middle fingers, put those on the 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th string, and then our index finger is going to go on the 4th string 1st fret. That's our E major. Now what's great about playing the E major like this is that if you take this finger off, now you've got the E minor. E major, E minor. So I would highly recommend doing that like that. Now you can also play E minor with these 2 fingers here, the 1st and 2nd finger, index or middle, however you want to call it. Okay? But if you were to go to the E major or even the A minor, you'd have to change your fingering position. So I always try to play E minor with these 2 middle fingers if I can, because it just makes it easier to go to E major or even A minor, something like that. Switch to different chords, your G right there, G to E, see, like that. And you want to think about that kind of stuff too. When you're forming chords, you want to think about with the easiest way to get to the next chord, because that's the hardest thing in the beginning. Forming chords is number 1, switching between them is number 2. So you always want to be thinking about that. Thinking about, okay, if I'm forming G like this, how can I get to E minor? If I'm forming G like this, how can I get to C? You know, those are things you want to think about, because that's like step 2. Step 1, forming the chords. Step 2, switching between them. So now we have the E major right here. We take off our index finger, we got the E minor. So that's another chord right there, okay? So that's actually probably 7 chords. The C9 and the E minor, all right? So now let's do a quick review. We got C, A, G, E. And then our last one that I wanted to show you was the D major. And this one, these chords are popular in hundreds of songs, that's why you want to learn them. Okay, the D major is a little tricky. It's going to be the index finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Middle finger is going to be on the 1st string of the 2nd fret. And then the ring finger is going to be on the 2nd string of the 3rd fret. I look at it like a triangle. If you look at it, it's 3 points. It's like a triangle facing this way. That's your D major. And what's cool about it, if you look at it like that, if you visualize it as a triangle facing this way, if you flip the triangle over and face it that way, like this, you get another common chord that's called the D7 chord. So if you can remember that, your D major is like a triangle facing this way towards the bridge. Your D7 is a triangle facing towards the nut or the headstock this way. Okay, of course you got to change your fingers around a little bit. Okay, but if you can kind of visualize that, and that's one thing that you want to do too, is you want to be able to visualize the shape of the chord. You know, If you can visualize shapes and patterns, it's going to make it a lot easier to learn, because a lot of times some chords have similar shapes to them. They might just be on a different string. Like for instance, I showed you the E major a little bit ago here, the E major on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string of the 1st and 2nd fret. Now if we take that same chord and we bring it down one string, keep everything in place, but just bring it down a string, now we have the A minor chord, which is another really popular chord. So I was going to show you 5, and I'm actually showing you more than that, but that's alright, because these are really fundamental principal chords, and if you learn these, take some time to work with them. I guarantee they're going to be very beneficial in your guitar playing in the long run when you start learning songs, because you're going to see they're in there. All these are in hundreds and hundreds of songs, okay? Now a couple little pointers here. Number 1, try to play on the tips of your fingers, okay? And curl your fingers. See how my fingers are curled underneath like this? Curl your fingers. And so if you have open strings, they're not getting this kind of thing going on. You know what I mean? You got to bring your fingers up. And if you got to bring your thumb down, that's fine. See how my arm's coming in like this? Okay, if that's how you got to do it. Or sometimes you can keep your thumb over the top. You know, everybody plays a little different, so you might have to experiment a little bit and figure out what works for you, okay? That's what I'm trying. That's what I love about the guitar. It's a very personal journey. It's a very personal instrument. Everybody, if you spend enough time with the instrument, which is, you know, what you need to do to learn how to play it, everybody kind of develops into their own style and their own personality, and that's what I really love about the guitar. So when you watch these videos, either from me or anybody else, just remember we're giving you guidance, and it's kind of up to you to take it from there and kind of develop your own style and your own personality and put that into the instrument, you know, and develop your own sound and kind of your own way of playing, all right? So once again, play on the tips of your fingers, bring the thumb either up or bring it back like this, maybe bring your elbow in if necessary. Like, see how I'm, like when I form the C major chord, see how my arm's like this? Okay, but it's not like out like this, okay, because that's just not going to work. So you got to think about that a lot of times. And see, look how easy I can just go to the G major. Now when I'm playing the A chord though, the A major, my arm's not really in here, it's more out here like this. Okay, the D too, see? So you want to think about that. It's all in the wrist and the fingers and the arm positioning and all that stuff. All that makes a huge difference in the way you play the guitar. All right, so learn those chords and you'll be set for like hundreds of songs. All right, so there we have it, our caged chords, which I call them, the C major, the A major, the G major, the E major, and the D minor. I'm sorry, the D major. The D major, the D minor is a little bit different, but we won't worry about that for right now, this lesson. We'll worry about that later. C major, A major, G major, E major, D major, and then I also showed you the C9 and the A minor and the E minor, so that's actually like 8 chords right there. So if you learn all those chords and you go through this lesson, you go through this, you'll see, and just take your time. You know, this stuff doesn't come overnight. It just does, especially if you're just starting out. You know, give it some time. Give it some time for your muscles to develop, you know, because it takes time. You're basically, you know, holding down metal wires on a piece of wood and trying to get it to sound good. And then when you do your picking, make sure you just strum across the strings really nice and even, okay? And then once you get the chords down, try to switch between 2 of them at a time, like maybe G and C, or C and A, or G and E, something like that, okay? Because that's going to give you the second part of the progression of what you're trying to do. And as you continue to work with this, you'll get better and better and better. And before you know it, you can string, you know, a lot of songs only have 3 chords in them. So if you can string 3 chords together, you got a song. And you'd be amazed how many songs only have 3 or 4 chords in them. And you'd be playing songs in no time, all right? Now, if you'd like to learn more about this kind of stuff, I recommend checking out my book here. It's called Learn to Play Electric Guitar. It's for beginners, and you can see it's pretty thick. It's got a lot of stuff in here. I think it's like 150 some pages here. And I try to make it, you know, really thorough and teach you all the stuff you kind of need to know. So let's see. Let me look at the table of contents here. Let's see what kind of stuff. Okay, so starts off chapter 1, the electric guitar. You know, these are getting started with the parts of the guitar, posture, both hand positioning, tuning the guitar using a pick. And then I get into the amplifier, because that's very important when you're playing the electric guitar, is having the right amplifier and getting your right tone. So I talk about types of amplifiers, guitar cables, you need those too as well. Good, some guitar effects pedals that you could use. I wouldn't recommend those in the beginning, but you know, maybe later on you might want to get those. They're kind of fun, they got some cool sounds to them. Okay, different types. And then I show you like how to read tablature, chord charts, and I would highly recommend reading notation. Very, very important, okay? Playing by ear is great, but if you learn to read notation, it's just going to give you more insight and make you, you know, just that much better. So I teach you how to do that in here, chord charts, tablature. I show you natural chords, power chords, which is how you play further up the fretboard, how to create rhythms, strumming chords, arpeggiating chords, chord progressions, which are the foundation of songs. Developing good timing, because you know you got to have good timing. Can't tell you how many times I've come across guitar players that just don't have good timing. So don't overlook that, okay? Then I go into a little bit of playing lead guitar, because that's always fun too. Your major scale, your natural minor scale, your minor pentatonic scale, your major pentatonic scale. Go into some lead guitar techniques, hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends and slides, vibrato, harmonics, stuff like that. Phrasing. Basic music theory, notes on the fretboard, how chords are created, how scales are created, you know, octaves and intervals. Plus I give you some finger exercises, some you know, insider tips to switching chords better, training your ear, practice habits, and it's all right here in this book. It's got a lot of, as you can see, pictures and diagrams and notation that makes it really easy to learn, and it's just step by step, so you just take it one step at a time, and before you know it, you'll be progressing and playing guitar. And so if you want to check that out, you can find it on Amazon or my website, either way. And if you're interested in maybe taking some lessons, you can contact me at my website at dwaynesguitarlessons.com. Alright, so keep practicing. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for future notifications so you know when I'm going to be loading my next video. And until our next time, keep practicing. Take care.